was asked.
Good morning, it's October 9th, 2024, 11:35 a.m. We are meeting with ECAT for their wage opener. My name is Nikki Powell, Human Resources Director.
Rodriguez Kimbrough, Mass Transit Director.
Wesley Hall, Assistant County Administrator.
Fabulous Davenport, Deputy Director, Mass Transit.
Mike Lowry, ATU 1395.
Elaine Wiggins, ATU 1395.
Microsoft Teams. She didn't.
We got Kristen Huell on Teams.
There you go. So, who am I dealing with you, Mr. Kimbrough?
Yeah, I guess so, sir. So I know we're here today for our wage reopener. I know this was a requested your opener by ATU, Local 1395, so I'm sure you probably have some documents. I know in the past, I presented yourself with the full-time bus operator top hourly wage rate dated September 2023, the trend system throughout the United States, the study that was completed. I've given that to you in the past, so I'm just looking forward to see the documents that you have for me so that we can.
So we have a proposal, okay? And we're willing to go through them. How many you got over here? 1, 2, 4? Oh, let me mention that. I mentioned it to Nikki, but I didn't mention to y'all. I don't know if you knew, Mr. Kimber. I think you do know. Curtis lost his son, his oldest son, and he's been dealing with a lot of stuff tied to that. So he's been. We should see Curtis coming into town pretty soon here, but you know, obviously, losing his oldest son, he's been dealing with. I think he was in the military. I don't know much. I think he was in the U.S. Army, but I don't know much about how he passed away. But I just know he was young, you know. So unfortunately, Curtis has been struggling with that. What's that?
So definitely pass our condolences.
Yeah, I will. And but Curtis is coming into town because he's, you know, he has to deal with the other properties, and he wants to meet with Mr. Kimbrough and talk about the transit system and the new vans we've got and all that. So let me make sure my phone's turned off. So do you want me to explain anything, Mr. Kimbrough, real quick, to kind of give you guys
Yes, sir.
an idea of what I'm throwing out here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we've done here is you can see it. We would hope that if we found an agreement to any kind of wage increase, that it would end up in a memorandum of understanding format, and it would so that way employees could see their wages written out in the typed version. But what we've done here is we've asked for basically a 4% increase for all the bargaining unit, the entire, which includes the full-time bus operator, part-time bus operator, seasonal trolley, UWF trolley, and customer service, and then all the maintenance employees, to include the grounds maintenance, which I don't think you have anyone in building maintenance anymore, but grounds maintenance. But with that being said, let me tell you what we did do is, if you can see where it says, looking at, for instance, full-time bus operator, it says 49 to 60 plus months, which is what currently is established as the 5-year progression. You can see under the new rate, it's in brackets. That's because what we've done here is we've created a new bracket under the, which is awarding years of service as well, which is, so we under the bracket, you can see it's listed under existing rate going all the way down, because we would say anyone from 10 to 19 years would get an additional 1% on top of their base rate. 20 to 29 years would get 2%, 30 to 39 years would get 3%, 40 to 49 years would get 4%, 50 plus years would get 5%. And that is set up for the other positions, including trolley, but I'll come back to trolley in just a second, but it includes customer service and the maintenance employees, okay? We did not write it up for the building, the grounds one, because at this point, that employee is not, it's one individual employee and it's not near the 10-year service yet. So going back to trolley, what we did is we established a little bit of a progression, because it was expressed to us by the people out there that they feel like, in many ways, they feel like they're full-time employees. I think the county's got they're full-time to the county is like 32 hours or something, 32 hours, right, Nikki? Trolley operators at UWF are working, their shifts are 36. I think Wanda Boykins is 39 hours, and they're getting full-time benefits. So they expressed the concern that they would like to see a progression for them. So we created one, not to the top rate of a full-time bus operator, but to the third level of a full-time bus operator. But they've expressed that to the union. And then, of course, we also, because of Ms. Boykins, Mr. Kimbrough, with all the years of service, we added that years of service progression for wages as well. You can see the wages are broken down that way, based on years of service. I think she's, with years of service, is somewhere between 20 and 29 years total. So the reason we did this, and we presented it as 4%, is we think, from our perspective, Mr. Kimbrough, we believe that management has struggled in some areas of the hiring practices. Not saying you're doing anything wrong. I think the workforce out there is not offering you the kind of employees you really need that come with the qualification and the ability to be dedicated and stay with the job. We've seen a lot of the ones you've hired not make it through 90 days or less than 6 months. Some left pretty quickly, right? Or didn't refuse drug test, that kind of thing, which is really frustrating when you put in all that time to train someone, and you put them through all that training and then they don't stay. What we're hoping to help you as management with all the goals and the things that you're working towards, with a new building, new equipment, all the things you're trying to do to bring us into an award-winning transit system, is talk to you about wages that would bring you the type of people that would actually apply here. We believe that this kind of starting wage of over $20 an hour would start to attract, but we also would say that we would also say that in the attraction of a new hire is something that's important, is being able to look at them and say, after 5 years of service, you'll be at this rate of pay. Every year you'll get another raise, you'll get another raise, you'll get another raise. This is where you'll be. So it kind of builds the picture to a new hire that they would walk in the door and understand, hey, there's a goal here, and I can get somewhere, and I can make a really good wage. And so that's why we did what we did. But along with that, we also want to make sure we're recognizing and promoting to employees, we're promoting to them that stay there, work. And so by building in these years of service wage increases, is telling them that, hey, you're not just going to reach top pay, but you're going to be recognized as you continue to work and stay and help benefit, because the goal here is for you for all of us, the transit system, to succeed and have, like you say it all the time, an award-winning transit system. The last thing you want is a beautiful big building and all these electric buses and all this new equipment, but you got poor workforce coming in the door. And so we believe that we could, with these wage increases, that it could promote that. And so we hope that you would look at that. And so that's basically it. I mean, unless you have anything else you want to add or ask.
You know what, Ms. Larry? You know, I want to say something because, you know, a lot of time we often say this, that you and I, we often may not agree on everything, but there are things that we do agree on, and when we don't agree, we're able to come back to the table. But I would tell you, what'll help me, because first I want to thank you all for providing me with this proposal, but what'll help me is, I know one time we had, in the midst of one of our, I'm going to say it, one of our less productive conversations, I spoke in regards to, and I may have misspoken, I spoke on one of you having 1/3 of responsibility. You know, you have to worry about just the workforce, but I have to worry about the workforce, I have to worry about the capital improvements, I have to worry about the budgetary things.
Right.
What'll help me right now is if you take on with this proposal one of those tasks. I want you to take your, you know, because you know how many employees we have. I want you to look at the fiscal impact, because that's something that I know that sometimes that it may not be something that you have to do, but I want you to look at the fiscal impact on what this will actually, you know, accrue. Budget season, and I have to say this, in February 2023, I actually sat down and where we are right now with the 2387 top rate. I took the pay scale. I was trying to show like everyone, like, look, this is the Escambia County pay scale. This is what the pay scale looks like. This is where I would like to see us at. And again, that caused a lot of commotion. But what I was trying to do was trying to get that taken care of before budget, so that I could actually prepare for a budget. Because every year, I'm sure you're aware, budget season comes. It's from July to October.
Right.
The budget has actually been approved for fiscal year 2025, which is known because it's a record. So every department has a budget, and our budget was approved on October, well, just the last board meeting for fiscal year 2025. So what happens when 2023 for the 2024 budget? What happened when we couldn't get to an agreement because we were stuck on certain things that were a little bit outside of the pay ranges? What ended up happening is we end up going over our budget 1 point, because I planned for the fiscal impact, but because we didn't come to an agreement and we had to worry about impasse, I actually went over my budget about $1.67 million. And so again, by going over, because again, when I could have said, you know what, was going to impasse, don't worry about the wages, I didn't do that, because again, I care about the workforce just like you do, and I know that in order for us to be able to get employees and keep good employees, the wages had to be increased from where we were with the 21, 24 or whatever. So now I found myself in the same predicament right now. I have to be honest, because that's something that I want to do. The fiscal year 2025 budget has already been approved, and I would be a liar to you if I told you that right now currently it's budgeted for us to be able to have these increases. I thought about how I could explain it. I even thought about how could I make it work. And I actually was expecting, I'll be honest, I was expecting the numbers that you would have provided to be a whole lot more astronomical than this. And so I sat down and I started, you know, I was actually up late last night trying to see, like, you know, and you actually brought something that was reasonable. And I'm gonna be honest, let's be honest. I was like, Mr. Larry, you're gonna be unreasonable, but you weren't. But I have to be reasonable with you and tell you that being at the fiscal year budget that's already been approved, fiscal year 2025, and if you go back to the last meeting, you'll see a purchase order that was put in, because I'm sure you clearly understand we operate our local match with our local fuel tax dollars. And right now currently, my local fuel tax dollars is being spent on our contract service provider. So what I've had to do is you'll see that 88 paratransit are now becoming in-house. And will no longer be the CTC after June 30th of 2025. So in hopes that we can have more fiscal improvements to allow for us to plan better for wages, because I agree with you, and I just was speaking to Nikki. Nikki is currently doing some study with some of the commissioners in regards to longevity pay. You know, because again, no one in the Board of County Commissioners management team doesn't want employees to be paid. And I know me and you talk about that. I want to see everybody paid for the service they provide. it's gonna be very difficult for me to figure this out because I don't know where I would get the money from. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't know where I would get the money from because right now, currently, there's no CARES, no ARPA funding for my operating costs. And right now with FTA, all of my local match for operating, that's why it has been a lot of shakeups, a lot of things that doesn't look the same as it always been. It's because my cupboard was bare when I got it, but I've been making sure that I've taken care of everyone the best that I could in order to get the improvements so that I can show leadership that, hey, look at the changes that we made. We're making these changes. We deserve to get more. And so right now with the fiscal year 2025 budget being where it is, this is what I need. We record, I don't mind saying this is what I need. We have to continue to make strides and changes on the way we operate the service. If we continue to operate the same, it's going to be very difficult for me to get the support that I need when I'm able to get the fiscal funding to say like, hey, our employees deserve more. Because I'm in line with you. I agree. I was up late last night. I wasn't expecting you to be this reasonable. I was trying to figure out like how to make these numbers match. And if this is something that we can go back to the table, and again, I'm not going to say that this meeting is in vain because I wasn't expecting this. I was expecting something completely different. But I want to budget, Mr. Lowry, to be able to get our employees more. But I'm going to need more from the employee base, and I'm going to have to improve also. Before the budget season, maybe we can come back February, March, like before in 2023, because fiscal year 2024, me continuing to give that increase that I gave in fiscal year 2024, it hurt us about 1.6 that wasn't planned. We had only planned for 3% because it was in impasse. We're not there right now. That's just me being honest. I like to be honest with you.
So let me ask this question. So you're basically saying there's no money. Is that what you're saying?
I can't lie to you, Mr. Lowry. I'm basically saying that like right now, currently for our fiscal year 2025 budget, I would be lying to you if I told you that right now there's funding. If you go back and you look at how much this, and you can do it, what you do is you take how many employees that you have.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Trust me, I ran some numbers, and because I was trying to estimate what I thought it would be based on 2,080 hours and all that. But
yeah, because I can take this. Cause I know how many employees we have 10, 19 years. I got all that, and then you got to.
I mean, just looking at what we proposed on the years part, you got one employee at 50, right? You have one employee at 40 years. And then you have soon to be one employee under 30 years, which would be me, and then Sean Gibbs behind me. And so I was just pointing that out. Yes, there'll be the number will be a little higher on the 10 and the 20, but in my mind, I'm thinking these are contract negotiations. I would expect a response back to what we proposed and have a discussion about that. I personally think it'd be a nice thing to honor Mr. Carter with that 5%, increase. That's just me, at his 50th year, because I don't know how much longer he's going to continue to drive. But going back to what you were just saying, I hear you, but when we negotiated this contract, in good faith, we agreed to 2 wage reopeners.
Oh yeah.
In good faith.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The union would rather had the wages negotiated and built into the contract. You know that, right? Mm-hmm. That would have been our goal. Our goal was to say, but we heard you say every year we got to take it back to the commissioners to do the budget, blah, blah, blah. But, okay.
But I want to make sure it's clearly noted as well, even with the wage reopeners, now, it's not stated in the contract that every time Escambia County receives a 3%, that the bargaining units will receive the 3%. That's actually that's why there's a memorandum of understanding that was just signed, and making sure that all the employees of the bargaining unit to not have to go do a wage reopener, but they were given that actual 3% like every employee of Escambia County. I want to make sure that we note that as well, because it's not anywhere written in the contract that it's a guaranteed 3% increase for every employee.
It also wasn't negotiated. The 3% wasn't offered to be negotiated with the union, because maybe we would have, if we had known that there was only 3% on the table, we might have said, okay, well, we want all the money at the top wage or something like that, instead of moving it around. like it is, the way it's distributed evenly.
No,
But-
that's a good point that you make, but I get you. That's a good point that you make there.
I mean, you know, we believed that there would be good faith to come and meet, and, you know, that county had planned for something for these negotiations, for a wage reopener.
Oh no, trust me. Ms. Lowry, me being here and being open and honest with you, like right now, like trust me, this is some good faith, because I need you to understand, because I could come here and I could,
If I had-
I could have easily came here and BS took your paper, walked back, went on a caucus, came back, pretended like I could have went on for days with this, but I'm telling you, in good faith, I'm coming to you, like, you know, just not, matter of fact, it's not even trans director to union president. This is actually man to man telling you, like, hey, this happened like this. And because it happened like this affected that. And so what I would like to see us both do, I even said you was reasonable. Now I want you to say that, you got to put that on record. That this is, I think, I wasn't expecting.
You don't think I'm reasonable? If I had proposed what the employees wanted, you would have been shocked.
That's
okay?
probably what I was expecting.
But I did not propose what the employees wanted.
Yeah.
They honestly believe that.
Because right now, currently, what's top rate right now? Top rate has been paying after 3%. What's top rate being paid right now? You know?
2387?
Top rate is 2387 before the 3%.
No, I'm saying with the 3%.
2459.
2460, right? 2020. So right now, and I like, this is something that I do in my spare time. So out of all our employees right now, especially bus operators, we currently right now have 39 active. 39 active bus right. Out of those 39, how many are actually being paid top rate? I know it's I'll just do it in percentage right now. Well, huh?
I'm
The
gonna.
majority of them.
I would say probably
It's
approaching 80%.
There you go, right? So this is how I do my numbers, right? And so I got 80% of the employee base right now that's actually making close to $25 an hour, right? And so I'm like, because I hear Mr. Starworth all the time. We should be paid $25 an hour to be able to drive the bus. And I always say, well, Mr. Starworth, I need to be, change the way we operate in order for me to keep being able to fight for more. So again, right now we currently our top rate getting paid close to $25 an hour right now. And am I saying I feel like that's enough? No. What I'm saying is that 80% right now, right? 80% right now is over. And what I want to do is be able to make sure that as we change the service, we're able to budget. Because again, by changing the service, that's something I always said, even when we were trying to get to 2387, we changed the way we operate. There's no way that me as a trans director, I can't go and talk to my leadership and say, like, hey, you all want us to be an award-winning transit agency. You all wanted to see us do capital and projects. You all wanted to see us change our on-time performance. You all said that our customer service needed to improve. The accidents need we need to decline in accidents. It's like I'm able to check those boxes, and that's what helped me be able to fight for, just as you are, fight for those things that we're looking to improve. And again, I am here in good faith, Mr. Lowry. That's one thing.
So,
You know I'm here in good faith.
so when you talk about the employees to help improve the system, I can't help but think,
Come to work too.
Huh?
That we come to work too.
so that, like today's a perfect example of some of the problems in ECAP.
You got 5 call-outs right now. Yes, sir.
Yeah, plus you have 5 others that are out. So you have 5 call-outs, and then you have 5 others, that's 10 people. Plus you have only 1 on vacation, so that's 11 that are out today. 11 employees out of 39. So all that says in my mind is overtime, right?
Yes, sir.
A lot of overtime. Well, what I'm seeing is supervisors driving. But and now I'm gonna speak kind of frankly to you. Personally, the attendance at ECAP, I don't see it improving. I see it getting worse. And I don't understand when you all are gonna take action on some of these individuals that just continuously call out. And in my opinion, they're making it hard on everybody else, because everyone else has got a cover for them.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ms. Larry.
So when you're saying what can we do,
Uh-huh.
I don't know what you mean, because you're asking me, and I think that a lot of us are already stepping up.
I would say that.
And we're working, right? Yes, do we want the pay? Of course, we get the pay with the work. But, you know, you got people every single day having dispatchers go, like, approaching me, can you work tomorrow? My day off. Yeah, I'll work. No, I need you to work a little later. And I'm like, how much later? Because in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm already approaching 50 hours of overtime. I'm trained. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And when you talk about accidents, I think we're our own worst enemy. We got people out there, you know, they're burning the midnight hour here because they're not getting the rest and the time they should, and they're out there, and now we're doing things like clipping mirrors all the time and things that normally, huh?
We're not doing that.
Well, we had quite a few lately, haven't we?
Some been
Yeah, but
preventable,
I mean-
non-preventable.
I think we had three.
It's
Yeah.
been a
Yeah,
combination.
non-preventable, other people clipping our mirrors and all that, but I'm just saying.
No, I understand what you're saying, Ms. Larry, and again, that's where I need your support in regards to, again, I know where we are with our employee base and the lack of attendance, and that's something I challenge Mr. Davenport to continue to keep pushing our new operations manager on to make those changes. FML, well, you and I both know FML was a major contributor to the fact that we have so many people out because they know how to utilize that. They figure out how to work that system well. Like, you know, that system is being worked to a T, and the I's are definitely being dotted as well with that. But also when making the efficiency changes in regards to the way that we do our rostering and stuff like that, again, I don't want to put a lot of burden on you all, and I definitely know the management staff there, they don't want to either. But we are where we are in regards to employee base. You're right, we've hired some employees that weren't able to cut it. They didn't make it, right? And they do the exit interviews. And when they do the exit interviews, it's some for different reasons than others. And again, I hear and see all those things from the point of view that I have and the perspective that I get to get the viewpoint from. So I don't know.
Well, you've hired some that already had a history here, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, the one lady worked for 3 different times she worked here before, or 2 times under the private sector, and she, three, right? 3, and then she didn't stay with them. What makes you think she stayed with the county?
Yeah, well, so I guess that's one of my.
I kind of predicted
you know,
that the moment I saw her. I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, well, I tell you, Ms. Larry, you know, as I always say, I got my past, the past transgressions of any of my predecessors. I can't even defend those things anymore, and I actually try to give everyone a benefit of the doubt. I don't go off of their and I actually don't do those hirings. I'll be honest.
I know when I say you.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I
Get that? I'm saying
Yeah,
that.
no,
I'm not saying
no.
you
I just,
personally.
no, I know. I just wanted to make sure, I want us to be able to give everybody a fair shot, especially where we are right now, when we need those bodies. And I think we got 3 more that's actually coming really, really soon. I know we got 1 in training right now. 2 in training right now. So 2 in training right now. I got
2?
another that'll actually be arriving on Monday.
I see 1.
It's 2. One started yesterday.
Yeah. So we're moving forward. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I was gonna kind of bring us back to wages real quick. I wanna mention that, in the last year's proposal, the base rate was increased by about 25%, and that top rate was increased by about 20%. As Mr. Kimbrough said, that was done after the budget process was complete. So that's kind of what he's referring to, as he had to do a lot of shuffling to be able to actually accommodate this. This was something he wanted to do for the staff. This was something he brought forward, and HR and budget worked together to make it happen as part of the CBA proposal. So as far as this, we would definitely have to take it, we'd have to cost it out, and then Mr. Kimbrough would have to determine if he can make any adjustments, any more shuffling to even try to make something like this work.
Yeah, I mean, Nikki, what I would say to what you just said is this. I obviously remember what was given to us at the beginning of this contract, what was negotiated. I also saw that with the BCC workers, they also got huge increases. I think a lot of that was the county adjusting wages to get people to where they needed so they could hire people. Because in the industry of transit, the wages that I'm showing here are not far off. That's what the industry is, okay? And I wasn't looking for no $30 an hour. I wasn't gonna do that to you, Mr. Kimber. That would be,
I appreciate it, guys.
I,
Yes.
but and you gotta remember, when you put an offer on the table, you obviously know there's a counter to it, okay? So that's why, that's why it's where it's at right now. But I was trying to make a couple points to you on my proposal that I hope you're thinking about, which is one, recognizing years of service, so that shows employees, hey, there's a long-term goal here. You called it longevity. I don't use that word anymore because I don't think they like to use that word, but I called it years of service pay. And then the other is the trolley operators. In that situation, I think your trolley operator situation is a problem because I think the pay's too low. I think that, and that's been expressed by the trolley operators themselves, okay? And they've kind of expressed their concern. And my other thing was is the starting wage of $19.38 now, which is the new rate with the 3%.
So the 3% was approved for current incumbents. You
Oh.
have to go back and listen to the board.
Okay,
meeting,
well
but
then,
it's
so
approved
your
for current
starting wage is
incumbents.
$18.82 then. I think that's even more of a problem for you. I think, CDL, it kind of makes me laugh when I hear that because, Mr. Kimbrough, Mr. Davenport knows, we're in the industry. CDL drivers can go, they have many options where they want to go to work. When you got a CDL, whether it's Class B or Class A, they can say, well, you know what, I'm not gonna worry about a B, I'm gonna go get me an A, and I'm gonna go drive for, whoever. And there's so many jobs out there right now that offer over $20 an hour to walk in the door. I was talking to Javon, and I said, John, you need to come back. Reapply, you resigned. And he said, no, I'm good. I'm making what I want to make. I'm doing really good now. And the point is, I want people to want to work at ECAT, not the idea that we're competing with, I often think, maybe I'm wrong for saying this, I often think school bus drivers choose to go to school bus, maybe even for a little less, because of the work hours. Because they got that free time, and they're off on weekends. Versus coming in and working in a transit system that runs, 6 to 7 days a week, and you potentially have to work on a weekend, or later in the evening, or split shifts, which, is sometimes unattractive to people. But it pays in place, Nikki. It pays in place. Then they might go, well, I can work a Saturday because it pays there, So that's why I hear you. I know, I would hope that you would take this back, cost it out, and then maybe you schedule a meeting and come back and tell us where you're at, what you're thinking. I would hope that you would say, no, even if you're discussing it in the idea of a plan, somehow communicating to us so we know. Because I'd hate to go back and just say, no, they're not interested. Because
Well, I want to make sure because you don't go back and say we're interested, because I'm actually interested, Ms. Lowry. I'm interested.
well, I want to make sure being interested means what? Does that mean there's a plan, there's a discussion, there's plans to meet, to have ideas of where we can go? Maybe we don't do this whole package, but maybe we do something of that package, and you say to them, because I'm telling you right now that the idea, I'm looking at customer service, for instance. I think you hit customer service real well last time, really well. And I'm not sure, because if you look at that customer service, those 3 individuals, they're all relatively new. I mean, they're probably 2 years or less, right? Most of them, 1 year or less. So having a plan to give their wages an upgrade is, hey, we could discuss that because long-term maybe, so you can keep them here working. But when you, and as far as technicians and your utility workers in the maintenance department, those numbers right there in my proposal,
Again, the numbers that you have, Mr. Larry,
Yep.
I can't deny these numbers are actually reasonable numbers.
I know you're saying the budget.
Yeah, and also too, it is, and I want to make sure I say this as well too. It doesn't just affect just the bargaining unit. You got to think about it right now. So if supervisor rate, like right now, even with maintenance technicians, like right now, it doesn't even pay to be a maintenance supervisor because your maintenance technicians actually make more money than you do, especially if they have all the ASCs.
Well, I think you only got one guy's got ASC, right?
It's two.
Is it two?
Yeah, it's two.
I know Alan.
Yeah, it's two.
There's another one, David Bullock. Yeah, David Bullock, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's just one of those things too, where all those things, again, I always have to take into consideration when I'm looking at all these things right now. So I increase my bus operator wages, correct? I increase that, something I want to do. Now I have to look into, again, like what, from a management standpoint, the supervisor rate, that's actually 2%, even right now, currently right now.
I don't even know what your supervisor rate is.
Yeah,
I know back when it was the private sector, they made $1 more than we did, but I think they make a lot more than that now.
That's definitely not true. To get a supervisor right now is it's not that appealing because of the low rate. Again, all those things, Larry, I take into consideration like daily. And again, I appreciate you bringing this, and I definitely I'm going to go back and I'm going to do the studies and I'm going to go and talk to other agencies and because that's just what I do. And even when it comes down to the years of service or longevity, what I like to call it, the years of service, look at that, just see how other agencies are doing it, what's being done. But it all boils down to me trying to make sure that I do what's best for our fiscal budget so that we'll continue to have a transit agency in the years to come.
You did notice that the years of service proposals are relatively small. I mean, actually small, right?
Yeah, I looked at it.
The amounts are not very high. I mean, it's more of a gesture to tell the employees we're recognizing you. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
And, obviously down the road, maybe that could change down the road when things are booming. But I was looking at it as you can't afford right now. Okay.
To lose senior employees, I know.
Can't lose
Yeah,
employees.
so right now,
You got, I don't know when the date is exactly when we're vested. I don't know. I thought it was April 2026, but I've heard it's next year also.
Nah, it's definitely.
It's 2025.
I'm being told it's next year, 2025.
No,
It would be
April.
2026 because
Yeah,
we did it in
April
April. We
2026,
didn't do it in
April
2017.
April
We did it in
2026.
So it is April. Well,
2026.
Miss Martin told my wife it was next year. My wife was like, really? And I'm worried how many employees are going to say, okay, time to exit stage left. Not that that's what I would do, but that's because it's not very much money in my opinion, but it is what it is. That, if people have a 401k that they had from the private sector still sitting out there. I know a lot of them transferred their money over into New York Life and they all had that going on. But the point that I'm trying to make is you don't want that huge exit of people walking out the door all at one time when you can't even get people in the door. Because right now,
Alright, so just know, Ms. Lara,
I'm gonna say-
I'm hoping for the best.
Let me say
and I'm
this.
planning for the worst.
can I say this to you?
Yes, sir.
You got it. I won't say who, but you had a new employee. Could have been already now is new or was new. When they came in the door, they trained with me one day and they looked at me and said, I don't know if I'm gonna stay here, but how long I'm gonna stay here. And that employee is still saying to me that every day, saying every day, I don't know if I'm gonna stay. And that's a young employee. And I'm sitting there going, no, hang in there, man, hang in there. And he's, they're frustrated because he's like, I'm making 18, I think he might have jumped to the next level, I'm not sure, but he was at 1882. And he was like, oh, this is rough, man.
Tell TK to keep holding on. So you see how intelligent Ms. Kimbrough is? I'm very intelligent. Got a lot of people know I pay attention to everything. Tell him to keep holding on.
Did he just compliment himself? He's very intelligent.
I'm very intelligent.
Well, I mean, you can understand the young man, you know,
Yeah, no, I
he's,
can,
he's,
yeah.
he's motivated, he wants to work, he wants to do well, but, you know, when they open their check, that's where the problem kicks in, so.
Just know, Ms. Lara, I agree with you
So,
wholeheartedly on that.
can we finish, obviously, with this? I would ask you to go back and cost it out, and then schedule another meeting with us. And let's have a discussion again then.
What did you guess it as?
Well, I don't have that with me at the moment, but trust me, it was last night and I was running the numbers. I left all that paperwork on my dining room table, but I was, you know.
So help me out.
I will tell you, the reason I don't want to throw out the numbers is because I costed it at 1%, I was costing it 2%, 3%, all the way up. And I had scratch all over the place looking at it because I kept getting screwed up because there's so many different types of wages in there, you know. But I could see.
So do me a favor, Ms. Now do me a favor for me in order to be able to get this team back together again, because I know Ms. Kristen, her time was very Nikki's time, and all I got to do is transit, and I love transit. Won't you bring me what your cost out, because I can get my team, we can work on the cost out.
You put it in the computer. I mean, Nikki's already ran it.
You bring me what you think it's gonna cost.
She wouldn't ask the question. She hadn't run the numbers already.
Yeah, you bring me what you think it's gonna cost, and then I take that. I bring it around my table.
Remember,
so we get some
negotiations is what it is. It's negotiations.
That's why I want to negotiate. I want you to help me negotiate.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing from resources like, what do you think the cost associated is going to be?
Well, here's one thing you didn't do. You kind of just said to me, "There's nothing in the pot."
Nah, that's so okay. So,
But you didn't say if there was, it was completely empty. You haven't thrown out numbers. Say, "Hey, well, I only got this." See, that's the difference. I'm just going to be honest with you. That's the difference in dealing with public sector versus private sector. When I was in private sector negotiations, management would look across the table and say, I got this amount of money. Here's the number. However you want to move it in the wages, but that's what's there. You can spread it out amongst everyone. You can put it in this pot. You can put it over here. You can do it that way. We don't really care how you want to do it. You're the one that's got to get it ratified by the members. And that's how we did it.
Yeah.
One year we went and I wasn't president of the union at the time, Ken Edgerton was. They offered a dime for the utility guys. I thought that was awful. So when I became president, one of the first things I did was I went and we had more money shifted to them than anyone else because they got screwed in the previous negotiations. So.
and I can tell you, Ms. Lara, though I don't have much experience working in the private sector, but I can tell you in public, again, we have an entire budget, and when it comes to our entire budget, that entails, like for instance, my grants, like 5307 grant, you know, only in a percentage can be used on operating costs. And so with our operating costs, that means that's the fuel,
Yep.
that means that's the lubricants, that's not just the people, that's the operating costs.
Right.
And so it's a lot that play a part in that. That's why, like, if I was a privatized sector and I know that Escambia County is going to pay me $3 million, and I know I want to make $1 million, that means that now I just got to make $2 million work with the operator. That's not how it works for me.
No, I understand.
Yeah, 'cause it would definitely be a whole lot
There's a
easier.
profit on the private sector, and on your end, there is not. But I just think it would be productive
I
from
like
the
that.
perspective of the workforce to think that this was just, that we didn't just meet.
Nah, we ain't just
And we were
We're
told,
taking your business meeting very seriously.
right, I would like to be able to come back to them, I'm sorry, Mr. Hall, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying, we're looking at every aspect of this. We're not taking this lightly. We didn't come in just to sit down and jump. We're gonna take it back, and we're gonna go over, and we're gonna see what we can do.
Okay.
So right now, Ms. Kimbrough's kind of laying out in detail where we are. That's all we're gonna do. We'll come back to the table again. But we never take negotiations lightly.
So, Mr. Hall, can I ask you a question, or you or Nikki? Did the other bargaining units, the firefighters, the EMTs, did they request wage reopeners too, or are we the only ones that requested?
We're in open negotiations with several of them, so
Oh, so you're in with all?
all of them have an opportunity to request their wage reopener every year, and they typically do.
Okay, so after the 3%, we were the only one, were we the only ones that requested the wage reopener?
We're still in open negotiations.
Oh, okay.
So,
Um,
and from Mr. standpoint, I get asked weekly, can you run this projection for this department? Can you run this projection for this bargaining unit? Can you run this projection for this? I have projection after projection after projection based on a number of scenarios that whatever person has asked me to run it, whether it's Mr. Kimbrough, whether it's Mr. Hall, whether it's Mr. Moreno, whether it's Commissioner. There are multiple scenarios that get run and presented to different people all the time. So it's not that we're not thinking of you, it's how do we make it work with the budget that we have. And so this year it was, you know, kind of a, hey, we're gonna scrape by with 3%. We've got some revenues are down, tax revenues are down, grant money hasn't come in. Didn't budget for last year's increases because it was after the impasse, which was after the budget period. There's a lot of factors that play into all of the county, not just transit. Transit is specifically, yes, tax funded, but there's a lot of factors that play into that. And then we take all of that, whatever projection that I'm asked to do, we then do the market value stuff, which Rod did that work for me, or somebody did that work for us, which was excellent. Helps us out a lot.
So what's the plan?
So I'm gonna take this back, Ms. Lara, but I can't tell you that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% in that longevity stuff. I gotta try to run some numbers, Ms. Lara. I just gotta run some numbers. Gotta run some numbers. I gotta see where we are. Got to. Like this.
Well, I understood that. That's why, you know, it is what it is. I didn't expect you to have to say, oh, this is great, let's go, we're ready. I expected you to say, we need to take it back, run the numbers. I heard you want me to run the numbers myself, but I don't want you to wait for me. I want you to run the numbers and then say, hey, okay, we're ready to meet.
Make sure you heard, Mr. Lara. I actually was running numbers last night. I'm up all night.
Not on this proposal, though.
Yeah, not on this, yeah.
And the big thing that you have to remember.
Where's the proposal you were running the numbers on? Sorry. I'm
Our
looking for
own
it.
proposals.
There had to be, if he was running numbers, he had to have something he was looking at.
The
I
big
got some
thing
on my
that you
desk.
have to remember, and the big thing that will come out of budget when we talk about longevity and or years of service, is that is always a reoccurring cost. It's not a one-time, this is what it's gonna cost and this is what it'll continue to cost. That's a reoccurring cost, because every time someone hits that next level of service, they're due that pay. So then you have to start budgeting.
Obviously, in the 5-year progression, you got,
Correct.
yeah.
Correct, so that's
I'm
one
aware
of the
of that,
things
yeah.
that, yeah.
In some cases, you're saying, depending on that smaller group in our bargaining unit, which is that 20% or less, they potentially get
Right, so
two
for you
raises,
guys,
one
it
is built in.
may not be that bad, but if
Right.
I'm looking at a different unit or
Right.
a different whatever, and I'm trying to do that 5-year analysis for budget per se, it's huge numbers. So when you talk about that, you have to remember it's a recurring cost.
Yeah. So, my job in the union is to improve the lives of the workers by fighting to get a little bit more in their pockets and to make it better. But I also agree with you that I'm trying to be alert to the idea that overtime might not always be there, and so they want to make sure they're getting a wage that is what I believe. You ran your numbers. The International has their own version of that list, okay? That one was, I called them up and read the name of the law firm that you listed on there that ran those numbers, and they said, yeah, we've seen that before too.
Yeah,
So,
I'm sure they do.
you know, their numbers are a little different because they base it on when they receive their labor contracts and they list them. Some of the numbers did not match on yours that theirs did. So I want to stay competitive for our bargaining unit to be competitive to other transit systems that are, especially the ones in the south, you know, that are similar in size and whatnot. And then the idea of micro transit coming, that is also something that, you know, look forward to figuring out what role that plays and how that affects the bargaining unit and all that. But I'd like to be able to go back and tell them if this is appropriate, to tell them that you're gonna run the numbers and then you're gonna get back to us.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm gonna do, Ms. Larry. Y'all give me more work. I'm gonna run the numbers, hoping that you run the numbers, and again, just make sure. I always want to just leave it, Ms. Larry. Just know, I appreciate you for being extremely reasonable with this, and I appreciate the workforce for all the work that they actually accomplish on a day-to-day basis. Again, that's one thing that I hope that you realize when it comes to competitive rates. I believe in that too. I
So
gotta make the numbers match.
we do have a couple things, but it's not tied to wages, so afterwards, we just want to talk, you know, I don't care if they're all here, but we had two things we wanted to touch base with.
Okay, well, if we're
that are-
done, I
That are
can-
kind of separate to this. Huh?
I was like, if we're done, I can stop the recorder and go ahead and close the wage session.
We're hopefully coming back. Is that what I'm hearing? We're
Yes,
hopefully
yes,
coming back,
I'm
okay.
gonna run some numbers.
Okay, we're gonna reschedule something in the near future, I hope.
Yes, sir. We're gonna
Okay.
schedule something. We're gonna get you some numbers.
Very good, very good, thank you, thank you.
You got to go down there?